Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess this, look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire. I'm Craig Mish. Get ready. We've got a big show for you here today on a big night in sports history, historical moments. All of those big words are on the line. I'll get to that in just a minute. We'll talk some Stanley Cup, of course. Not to mention, we've got some great guests on the show here as well. Jo Madden will have a full preview of tonight's games, all the positions that you could potentially take on tonight's Stanley Cup Finals game. In addition, guest contributors always from Legal Sports Report. Today, Mike Mazzeo is in the house. And also, my buddy Michael Tucker, former big league player, 12 years in the big leagues, played with the Giants and the Braves, going to weigh in on those two teams and talk about what we could see in the future, especially for the Atlanta Braves, who are not in first place for the first time in a while in the National League East. Tucker, of course, played for the Braves as well. So let's get started with the biggest story of the day in sports. And I'm sure all of you this evening, when you're watching us on your second screen, will be locked in to something that hasn't happened in over 70 years, which is a team going up 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals and having it come back to tie 3-3. It's all on the line tonight in Sunrise. It is Game 7, and it is a pick'em, basically, on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Look at these odds for a Game 7 at home. The Panthers, a very, very slight favorite, no plus money at all, minus 114 on the money line, total 5.5. A lot of these games, as you will see coming up, have gone over the total. In fact, the last 4 games have gone over that total. The Panthers came out dominating in this series. For those of you who've been sleeping on the finals, they won 3-0 in the first game. They won 4-1 in the second game. The third game was exciting, probably the most exciting game of the series. It was 4-3. And then the Oilers stormed back, and look at the goal scoring, 8-5. Folks, tonight, SportsGrid is your place to be for Stanley Cup Finals Game 7. Essentially, history is going to be made. Either the Panthers, who went up 3-0, are going to end up winning this thing and forget about what happened, or the Edmonton Oilers are going to make history and come back down 0-3. Incredible story developing tonight. Keep it locked here to SportsGrid. Pharrell and In Game Live, all of them have you covered. Meanwhile, we got some breaking news in the NBA. A new head coach has been hired. This time, it is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Stadium is reporting that Warriors assistant Kenny Atkinson is the new head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Process was down to Atkinson and Pelicans associate head coach James Borrego Atkinson, of course, the top assistant with the Golden State Warriors. Cleveland was really good last year. So, yeah, you try to make sense of this. I can't. But needless to say, Cleveland has a new head coach going into the NBA season, which begins in just a few months. And by the way, the draft is this week. All right, over on the PGA Tour, a very exciting finish. But yes, Scottie Scheffler wins again. This time he outlasted Tom Kim. And by the way, outlasted, that is the proper word. My gosh, Tom Kim really makes the most of every shot, doesn't he? I don't know if you saw him playing yesterday. Just, played and played and played. Took his sweet time on every shot. First player since Tiger Woods in 2009 to win 6 times in a single season. By the way, I don't know if you caught this yesterday, but in addition to Scheffler playing great, Tom Kim playing great, by the way, down the stretch, there was a 5-minute delay when 6 people stormed the 18th green and sprayed it with red and white powder. Yes, this happened. And the people wearing T-shirts, "No golf on a dead planet." A lot of people protesting this for the environment. And you don't see this very often in pro sports, but boy, they plan this out right? To wait to the 18th hole to get people like me to talk about it here on the show. So certainly we are. Scottie Scheffler won the event and, of course, was asked about this protest at the end of the tournament.
Yeah, it was a great finish. This golf course produces a lot of those, the exciting stuff coming down the stretch. And so it was nice to be out there competing. It's great competing against one of my good buddies in Tom Kim, but it's also very difficult at the same time. I want what's best for him, and so sometimes it can be hard. And I think for both of us, battling against each other out there. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm proud to be sitting here with the trophy. Yeah, it was definitely a bit weird. I saw one person out of the corner of my eye, and then I saw about 5 police officers sprinting around. And from my point of view, they got it taken care of pretty dang fast, and so we were very grateful for that. It seemed to go by really quickly to us, but when something like that happens, you don't really know what's happening, so it can kind of rattle you a little bit just because there's people running around the green and there's police officers running around the green, and you don't know if they're peaceful. You don't know what they're doing. You have no idea what's going on, and so it can be a bit stressful. But fortunately, I was out there, and you could kind of see me and Akshay talking to each other for a minute, me and Tom talking to each other for a minute, just basically trying to calm down. That can be a stressful situation, and you would hate for the tournament to end on something weird happening because of a situation like that. And so I felt like Tom and I both tried to calm each other down so we could, give it our best shot there on 18.
Yeah, fun finish yesterday, sort of overshadowed by the protesters yesterday. Of course, the Open Championship, the next major championship coming up in July. All right, College World Series is getting hot as well. Tennessee beats Texas A&M. They force a Game 3 at the College World Series tonight. Incredible series in Omaha going on this weekend. For those of you who are missing this, it's been great. Giancarlo Stanton goes on the injured list again, 8th time in 6 years. He's only played 69 of the Yankees' first 79 games this season and not going to play a ton going down the stretch. Meanwhile, interesting note here for these cable wars. I wonder if Simon Applebaum will talk about this with us, but the Miami Marlins are basically, because their games are not being broadcast on Comcast because of the rights fees and this dispute, they're basically saying we're going to let Miami fans watch this for free for 2 months. Through Bally Sports. They're going to pay for it so you can log in and watch baseball. I wonder if other teams are going to do this as well with all these carriage issues going on. Meanwhile, yesterday in Major League Baseball, Edwin Diaz was kicked out of the game before he threw a pitch. Apparently too much sweat, too much rosin on the ball, sticky substance. Remember this in Major League Baseball when they incorporated this? It was a lot stricter. But yesterday, before he pitched in the game, he was thrown out. And Diaz said that basically he didn't use any foreign substance. It was just basically him doing his normal routine.
Agree that this was stickier than you usually are, or was it essentially the same in your eyes?
I think it's the same. They always check me. They always check me and they let me pitch. But today was hotter than early in the season, so I don't know. They thought it was stickier, so I take the suspension.
And will you adjust anything going forward?
No, I will keep using the same thing because they didn't find anything in my glove, my hand, my belt, so I will keep using.
Did they think you were using too much, or did they think you were using an illegal substance?
I think they was thinking I was using illegal substance, But like I said to them, you can smell my hand, you can check, you can do whatever you want. I will always use the same thing.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so that's the explanation from Diaz. The explanation from Carlos Mendoza, the manager, basically saying too much is not good enough.
But it was they thought it was too much. Diaz kept saying it was rosin, sweat, and dirt, and Vic thought that he crossed the line there, and obviously the rules are the rules, and they made the decision to throw him out.
Did they say it was too much rosin, or did they think it was a different substance?
Yeah, he just Vic said, that's a little too much. So, and I got to do my job, and that was all to it. So,
are you okay with the way that all went down?
Well, obviously, the rules are the rules, and MLB is doing what they're doing because they have obviously really good reasons, and we got to stand by, and obviously Diaz went over, and obviously we'll feel it, because we're going to play short now, and so we got to move on, and obviously we got to stick to the rules here.
As Mendoza mentioned, Edwin Diaz will be suspended for this incident. Now, over in the WNBA, very exciting game last night. Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky come back to defeat Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Angel Reese, 25 points, and she is just grabbing those boards. 16 boards again for her yesterday. 88-87 the final. Meanwhile, the New York Liberty crushed the Atlanta Dream 96-75. Brianna Stewart had 33 points. Cavaliers making other news today, closing in on an extension with Donovan Mitchell. And naturally, they hired their head coach today. The NBA draft, by the way, is coming up on Wednesday. In the NFL, the Green Bay Packers have approved a gentleman by the name of Ed Policy as their new CEO. So he will take control over the Green Bay Packers. Orelvis Martinez, an infielder for the Toronto Blue Jays, gets an 80-game ban for a PED violation. Tommy Paul wins his first grass title at the U.S. men's ranks. And also Amy Yang wins the KPMG Women's Championship over the weekend on the women's side of golf. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back next, it's time for us to preview Game 7. Cam Stewart, Jo Madden up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And it's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It's a special night in sports. We rarely get a Game 7 in professional sports to win a championship. The last few games, they keep saying the cup is in the building, and it just keeps going to building to building to building, back and forth. It's a historical night in South Florida at sunrise because the Florida Panthers were on the verge of sweeping the Stanley Cup up 3-0 and the Oilers came storming back to force a Game 7. 70 years this has not happened. So we thought on this special day and evening, and for those of you here at SportsGrid, I know that you'll be watching tonight all of our shows, all of the different bets that you can make. FanDuel and DraftKings, by the way, have more options on this game, I think, than they've ever had in the history of one game. And it's probably going to be the highest rated game in NHL history as well. So that's why we're bringing in Jo Madden and Cam Stewart to break this game down in this little roundtable discussion that we're going to have on the eve of the finals. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you for joining me here on NewsWire. How are you guys?
Pretty good, Craig. I know Jo and me, she won't admit it more because Jo's lovely and I'm more of a big mouth, but we both have the Panthers in this game. And I got to tell you, Craig, when they were up 3-0, I was just counting my tickets. I'm like, oh, maybe Edmonton, they lose in 5, at the worst 6. And you're thinking there's no way. The last time this happened, Craig, ironically, Jo knows, 1942, the Toronto Maple Leafs, wasn't born in 33 years. So literally, this is nuts, what we're seeing right now. And the last time a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup, the 1993 Montreal Canadiens. So the whole country is basically all the people that hate Edmonton, like Jo from Calgary. Like, it's basically like, Craig, an American equivalent, New York versus Boston. Edmonton hates Calgary. Calgary hates Edmonton. Everybody hates Toronto. And that's basically the way Canada is. But now everyone's galvanized for this game tonight. Would you not say, Jo? I think all these people are just saying now, historically, they want Edmonton to win and shake this curse from 93.
Yeah, absolutely. After being at Game 6, I tell you, that environment up there in Edmonton and how great their fans were, it's kind of going to be a heartbreaker either way to see one of these teams lose. You look here, this is our 18th Game 7 in Stanley Cup Finals history, and we've seen the Edmonton Oilers be in 2 of these situations before. They lost in 87 to the Flyers. They beat the Flyers in 87 and lost to the Carolina Hurricanes in 2006 in that Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So you look at this team is ready, but the storyline tonight, I think this is one of the biggest games in NHL history. Will it be the storyline of the biggest collapse in NHL history of the Florida Panthers, or the best comeback in NHL history of the Edmonton Oilers? It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in this game tonight.
Yeah, you're right, Jo. And I think that when you look at it, you mentioned it, which is no matter what happens tonight, we're going to see something that we've never seen before in the history of the NHL. So, personally, living in South Florida, I mean, it is tense. I mean, this is going to be a really incredible atmosphere tonight. Jo, I'll go back to you for this one, and then Cam, I'll go to you here with this. Now, anytime goal scorer tonight, this is going to be one of the more popular wagers over on FanDuel if people are going to get involved in this. And McDavid is plus 155. Obviously, when you look at the board here, Jo, there's a lot of different options. And what you've seen change is this flow of all Panthers being at the top to all Oilers now being at the top as far as favorites are concerned. So who do you got? And then Cam, if you want to give it out as well.
Yeah, when you look there at Connor McDavid, after that last game, he was completely held off the board, not even a shot on goal, which has to scare the Florida Panthers fans, because Connor McDavid, typically after being held off the board in one game, will answer back so strongly in the next. So I'm looking for him to come back and get the goal in this game at plus 155. I think the value is there, but you've also got to look at Zach Hyman, his ability to have that in front of the net presence in front of Bobrovsky. He's always there, and he's going to be able to get a nice assist maybe from Connor McDavid and get that goal. So I do think you look at Zach Hyman, you look at Connor McDavid, and if you're looking at the Florida Panthers, I think it's Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk absolutely will bring it tonight. He's so competitive out there. We've only seen him get 1 goal in this series, but I do think Matthew Tkachuk, the superstar, has to show up tonight in this one. What about you, Cam?
He's done a lot of talking, I can tell you that, and I really wish he didn't because it just fueled Edmonton's fire. You know the way I feel, Jo. I laid 40 cents with Verhaeghe, and in my opinion, he's been probably the best Panther and snake-bitten. If you look at Stu Skinner's saves, they've all been, Verhaeghe's been open all the time. He's the guy hustling all the time. He's the guy that's been there every game. I get plus 220 with him. He scored the opener in the first game. He got a point last game. It's the only bet I hit. Yeah, Craig, I had the under, and then they scored 2 empty net goals, 5.5. I get 6 goals. I'm like, can I take any more abuse, my friend? So thank God Ty Hatton won in golf because my units are going down the toilet. But I agree with Jo on Zach Hyman. I think that is a great pick at plus 140. He is the goal scorer when everyone's going to pay attention to McDavid. He's a natural goal scorer. I know the price isn't great, but for Edmonton, I'd go with Hyman. And for Florida, I like Connor for Verhaeghe, and I like both.
why don't you take a shot, too? First goal of the game, both guys, because you're going to get crazy plus money, Craig.
Okay, so we got about 2 minutes to go here. So I'm just going to discuss the fact that Connor McDavid is going to win the Conn Smythe. There's really nothing else to talk about. The story of the Conn Smythe winner is less than a week ago, you had a goaltender on a team at minus money to win the Conn Smythe, and now is 10-1. I've watched sports betting for a long time. I have never seen a minus money Conn Smythe, or furthermore, an MVP of anything, go from minus money to 10-1 within a week. We've never seen this before. So, Cam, back to you for 30 seconds. It's Game 7. It's tonight. I mean, we got to get this one right. I'll go to you first, and then go to Joe. Who takes the cup tonight?
I still think Florida's going to win, and in typical fashion, break everybody's heart in Canada. So I'm praying that Florida scores first so I can get a little bit of plus money on Edmonton, probably plus 260 after the first goal, and do something with that. But Florida wins 3-2. That's my final score.
Yeah, and for myself, I am looking at the Florida Panthers as well. I do think they will kick it up another gear in this game. Cam mentioned Verhaeghe before, and he really needs to step up big as well. As long as Verhaeghe steps up, Sam Reinhart steps up, and Matthew Tkachuk, I really do think the Florida Panthers will hoist the cup tonight.
Craig, I had a cash out with Bobrovsky, and one of my biggest regrets, should have hit the button, but Gary Greed took over. Now it's worth nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Incredible. Incredible to see that happen. Joe and Cam, thank you again for coming on NewsWire for the big game tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll be right back. We'll hear from Stewart Skinner next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It is going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. One thing I've noticed, by the way, on social media, especially with all of the South Florida people that I follow living in South Florida, is social media's kind of gone quiet on the Florida Panthers a little bit. The bravado after winning Game 2 and Game 3 has turned into nervousness. And look, the dynamic tonight is going to be incredible going into Game 7. even more so for the Edmonton Oilers, who, really at this point are playing with house money. No one had them being here. And a real good lesson, I think, not just for athletes, but for kids as well, as Stuart Skinner and Edmonton goes into Sunrise tonight in Game 7, was asked about how they turned it around in the series, and it really had nothing to do with strategy or anything else. As Skinner said, it was all about practice.
Yeah, I think honestly we've had a lot of practice, having to push back. I think it was very much earned. We had to do absolutely everything in our power to get to this point where we are, and I'm sure Florida would say the exact same thing. It takes every single guy. It's literally taken every guy in our room to get into a position like this, and it's very exciting and it's very enjoyable to be able to be here. It's been massive, obviously, especially against a team like Florida. They know how to put pucks in the net. They know how to obviously get on their forecheck. Very strong team. So, to be honest, the game plan, it's really hard to say. I think it just comes down to little details and doing the right things, especially at the right times. And I think we've had guys really step up at the big moments, whether that's a very minimal thing like getting a stick on a puck or, stick checking a guy or, whatever that may be. So I think it's just, honestly, just really small little details.
Should be a incredible atmosphere tonight in Sunrise. Meanwhile, atmosphere is all about a parade, and wouldn't you know, the Boston Celtics put a bow on their season with their parade over the weekend. The Celtics, of course, are the NBA champions, but after you win the championship, you got that target on you, and you got a lot of moves to make because a lot of the players from that championship team are going to be targeted from other teams as well. Let's check in with our social media correspondent, Brian Nasto, talks about what's potentially next for the NBA champions.
The champagne bottles are empty and the confetti has fallen after the Boston Celtics celebrated their NBA championship with a parade in Beantown this past weekend. However, what does that mean? What's next for the Celtics this offseason? Well, for starters, they have to re-sign Jason Tatum and Derek White. Derek White is eligible for a 4-year, $127 million contract, while Jason Tatum will get the richest contract in NBA history at $315 million for 5 years. And if we look towards the bookmakers, the Celtics are heavy favorites heading into next year at plus 280. This is not a team to be reckoned with. This is a team that will be around for the next couple of years. Al Horford's even coming back because he believes this team can go back-to-back and chase banner 19. Now, only time will tell, but this could be a dynasty in the making. Craig, back to you.
All right, Brian, we'll see about that. Dynasty rarely happens in sports these days. Feels like a team wins one. Are there any dynasties left? Who was the last dynasty in sports? Was it the New England Patriots there? For a while. It just doesn't seem to exist anymore in professional sports. And now with college, of course, those days are done too. All right. Is there a dynasty in the making in the WNBA? Potentially. I don't know. Indiana Fever, of course, yesterday, an incredible game. Needless to say, the story was all about Angel Reese, who has been fantastic and pulled down another 16 rebounds yesterday in front of a sold-out crowd. Reese talked about the atmosphere between her, Caitlin Clark, and the WNBA and how great it is for the game.
Yeah, of course it's good for the game, good for women's basketball, but also good for women's sports. You see NBA players, rappers, legends that have played in the league for a long time come out and show support. So, everybody's watching right now. I think it's just one of the most important times right now. We just continue to keep putting on. I think both teams tonight did an amazing job putting on a show, and it was fun. I had a great time. I'm sure the other team had a great time. So I'm just happy we won tonight. Yeah, I think our team right now is still growing and learning because we are young, but I think we're at the right time and perfect time right now. We're not supposed to be perfect right now. Obviously, we're going to just continue to get better every day and find ways to get better every day, and I think we've done a great job. That losing streak definitely spoke a lot for us. Hard times in the locker room, hard conversations in the locker room, but being able to take that, everybody looked in the mirror and figured out what we need to do to get better, and it doesn't stop here. 2-game win streak. We got to keep going.
88-87 final last night. Coming up next, Mike Mazzeo joins us from Legal Sports Report. Will Texas ever get legalized sports betting? We'll touch on that and other stories next. Don't go away. More NewsWire right after the break.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Rory Mack, it is going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got Mike Mazzeo from Legal Sports Report here on the show. You can read all about the stories that we discuss over at LegalSportsReport.com. As we bring in Mike, we'll talk about Texas, whether or not sports betting comes there in the future. But Mike, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Appreciate it. Let's get started off with a story that broke late last week. Rules certainly different in the United States and also in Canada, but given the fact that Jontay Porter played his basketball in Canada, looks like investigators want to get to the bottom of what was going on with him and all of the activity on sports betting as well. Thanks for coming on. Let's start there.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Craig. Happy Game 7. One thing to note before the Jontay Porter story, MGM Resorts International has acquired Tipico U.S. Sportsbook. So that's an interesting story. Matt Waters will have more tomorrow, I'm sure, because that is his beat, but something to note. As far as Jontay Porter is concerned, as you mentioned, Canadian authorities have opened their own investigation. We know that Porter is being investigated already in the U.S. We know his lawyer has said he's cooperating with authorities on that front. And so this is Canada opening up investigation through the Ontario police. And we'll see how that goes. You know, we'll see what they come up with. They decided they had enough information. Obviously, we know that 4 co-conspirators have been charged. Porter actually has not been charged in the U.S., Craig, so that's something perhaps, we'll see what happens in Canada. You don't want to speculate in this case. It's all allegations. But given, the allegations in the U.S. in terms of, the fact he had owed gambling debts and had faked injuries and came out of games early and given that inside information to bettors so they could place parlays over $1 million, those parlays would have won had they not been flagged by the Sportsbook DraftKings and then the Integrity Association and then the FBI, which is doing its own probe. So, I think a lot to unpack here. I followed up with the Canadian authorities today. They said they wouldn't have anything, perhaps until this investigation is over and we see what it amounts to. So Porter, for now, is not charged in the U.S., and we'll see what Canada decides to do with their own probe.
Yeah, and again, 2 different countries handling it potentially in 2 different ways. All right, so now as far as legalized sports betting, this year is going to come and go essentially with very little activity in the United States, with new states getting legalized sports betting. One state looking for a potential legalization next year, or at least having this pass through, would be the state of Texas. We know, Mike, that from the sports franchises, there's been a ton of support for this, but from the legislature, not as much. Where do things stand?
Yeah, Craig. So I talked to the Stars president recently who said at best this is 50-50 heading into 2025. The legislative framework in Texas, it's very conservative, very Republican-led. At the Senate level, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has continually been anti-gambling. So it doesn't look like, anything might happen there. Perhaps if Trump wins and Patrick goes into his cabinet, one source said maybe that's the best way for this to happen, but seems like a long shot. On the casino front, we know Texas wants casinos as well. Dallas Morning News recently had a story that said that's also a long shot. Aristocrat, notably, one of the slot machine providers, they had a deal with the NFL to have all sorts of different team slot machines. They partnered with the Dallas Cowboys now for their signage to be in the AT&T Stadium, the Cowboys' home. Perhaps they have ambitions in Texas, but they aren't saying. They have 2 casino partnerships in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, obviously, near Dallas. Texas sports betting illegal. The only place you can go to a casino, if you live in that area, is Louisiana. You can go to Oklahoma. And so that seems to be what that partnership is for now. But certainly with Las Vegas Sands, that group getting involved in majority ownership of the Dallas Mavericks from Mark Cuban. Cuban talking about his casino ambitions to build a casino resort next to the Dallas Mavericks next arena. He's not governor anymore, so we'll see where that goes with the Dumont and the Adelson family. But, there are ambitions in Texas from some people. Perhaps Las Vegas Sands making some inroads, doing something where they're not the outsider anymore. They are a Texas-based company, and that they own the Mavericks. But yeah, a lot of moving balls in Texas. Looks like a long shot, but we'll see, obviously, long term. There's a lot of stakeholders there that have financial interest in that state moving not only sports betting, but also casino as well.
Yeah, and again, it's more or less a state that so many people are supporting this. It's interesting to see how much, again, a lot of money in that state too, how much money that some of these lobbyists can get together and get this to pass through. All right, so now maybe they're watching the show in Massachusetts, because it seems to me that this is the most likely outcome, I think, for a lot of sports betting operators, unless they get their ducks in a row, so to speak. Is, Mike, I'm reading the story over Legal Sports Report that potentially Massachusetts may have a max bet or limit on their sports betting. And again, if you can't regulate it, this is probably the easiest way to do it on specific bets, isn't it?
Yeah, Craig, and the question is, are we going to have a roundtable finally? They tried to have a limits roundtable. All the operators besides Bally's did not want to go there. They said it was proprietary information. We don't want to do this in a public forum. The Massachusetts Gaming Commission operates in the open meeting law, so all these meetings basically have to be public unless they decide to go to an executive session. They don't seem to want to do that in this case. There did seem some kind of angst on both sides. Jordan Maynard, the chair, Sam McQuillan wrote the story for us as the update said, we want this to be something where it's, done in the proper way, where there's not angst on both parties. And so we'll see what happens here. The operators now seem like they want to have it, but the commission has to figure out how they want to do it. I don't know if they'll have a roundtable, if it'll just be a meeting agenda item. But, yeah, this is definitely something they're looking at. We saw Dustin Gauker. We saw Captain Jack Andrews talk from kind of a different perspective of the bettors. And a lot of bettors are upset that they are not told why they're being limited. And so this is a big industry, issue, not just in Massachusetts, but throughout the country. And we'll see kind of in Massachusetts lays the groundwork for other states to kind of go in a similar direction.
All right. And, I think that if other states follow suit here and, some of these operators don't decide to either, get together, as you said, and do this roundtable or something like that, they could be forced to have these max bets. I know they don't want them, but as far as the athletes are concerned and some of the prop betting is concerned, it does make a lot of sense. All right, Mike, great to have you here again on NewsWire. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks so much for having me, Craig.
All right, Mike Mazzeo from Legal Sports Report with us here on the show. All right, coming up next, it's time for us to dive into the latest in Major League Baseball. We're going to bring on Michael Tucker, former big leaguer, 12 years in the big leagues, played for a lot of different teams, and also played in the city where Willie Mays played for such a long time, so we'll have that as well. Now, for those of you looking tonight to get an edge on Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, naturally, you can do it very easily by downloading the SportsGrid app, and right there it is. So for those of you who have a smartphone, which is pretty much everybody that I know, take out your phone, scan the QR code, and download the SportsGrid app. It is free. Tells you all about the programming, the different shows that we have here, Not only that, but for those of you who are unfamiliar with our radio programming, we're on Sirius XM channel 159. Get the schedule, all the information, all the different varying shows that we have as football season approaches. Definitely your place to be, so make sure you catch us there. In addition, don't forget that tomorrow here on our show on NewsWire, we'll recap Stanley Cup Finals Game 7, tell you who ends up winning the championship, and naturally look forward to a lot of different topics going on. The golf is heating up, PGA Tour as well, and not to mention tons of Major League Baseball action to recap and preview with you here on the program as well. But current line on FanDuel right now, Panthers minus 115 on the money line, Edmonton minus 105. You see the puck line minus 1.5 as well. The goal total interesting as well, 5.5 total there. Last few games have gone over the total. We'll see tonight if that trend ends up continuing in Sunrise. All right, so let's take a quick time out here on the show. Coming up next, we got Michael Tucker to weigh in on some Major League Baseball. So stay with us here on NewsWire. We'll be back right after these messages. Also, don't forget, early line coming up, 12 o'clock Eastern, followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast at 3 o'clock as well. Don't go away. Plenty more to come right after this.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Rory Mack, it is going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time to talk a little Major League Baseball. Former big leaguer Michael Tucker with us here on the show. Of course, played at a very high level, Kansas City, San Francisco, Atlanta, played a number of different teams, also watches the game, very busy with his schedule. His son playing football at FAU this year, his other son playing baseball. Hard to keep up with Tuck, but he's kind enough to give us a few minutes here on the show. Also trains youth baseball as well, so I thought it'd be a good conversation to have. Tuck, thank you for coming on NewsWire. It is great to see you, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get started here. Talk about one of the teams you used to play for. You're actually in Georgia right now, the Atlanta Braves. Braves have had what we would call a very interesting season. They lost their best pitcher in Spencer Strider. They lost their best hitter in Ronald Acuna Jr. But yet it's kind of been the pitching that's kept them in it. The hitting has been so-so, to say the least. What have you seen with the Braves this year?
Well, the injuries are the things that kind of bother you the most is when you have the big guys in your lineup not being able to perform because of injury. There was an injury, Michael Harris, the second, he got injured. So you're trying to fill in spots, and I think they've done a great job with that. And I think a lot of times with them being 7 games back, they have a potential to probably make a trade for a pitcher and try to bring in a guy that help bolster their rotation.
And I think that that's really the thing, Tuck, is that when you look at the Braves, they've had so much success getting to the postseason. What they haven't been able to do outside of once is win it all. And I know that you've had certainly a lot of experience playing. Why do you think it has been that the Braves have been able to win these divisions so many times, and then they get to the postseason and they find somebody else like Arizona or Philadelphia or just some other team getting hot at the right time?
Well, I think you just talked about it. Being hot at the right time makes a big difference. I remember when we were playing with the Braves, it was 97, 98. We had the pitcher staff with 4 Cy Young winners or 3 Cy Young winners and a closer. And all of a sudden, you get to the playoffs, the bats kind of cool off just a little bit. Other teams are hot, and you put yourself in a position where one run makes a big difference in the game.
Yeah, and it has for the Braves. They've won a ton of one-run games this year too. All right, let's go around the league a little bit. Cincinnati Reds, another team you're quite familiar with. Before the season, projected potentially to win the division. They're having a hard time doing that, but one of the leaders of that team has been this player named Elly De La Cruz. I'm sure anybody watching baseball is familiar with him. Talk a little up for him at the beginning, a little down. It's baseball, right, over the course of the season, but he's going to end up leading Major League Baseball in stolen bases. He plays a premium position at shortstop. What have you seen from him?
Well, Elliot De La Cruz, he reminds me of players when we played during my era. You come in, you're going to hit for a little bit of power. You have the speed, the arm is exceptional. I think everything he's doing this year, he's still in that learning phase where he's trying to figure out the game for himself. But he's an exciting player to watch. I think he's the guy that's going to probably be the face of Major League Baseball here in the future.
Yeah, and look, the stolen bases are now moving up this year, a little bit down from where it was last year. But with the bases being bigger and not being able to throw over to first base at will, that's definitely changed the game. Now, another team that you played for and quite familiar with the ballpark, we have a number of subjects to touch on here. Tuck, the San Francisco Giants, another one of those teams that made significant moves in the offseason. And over the last couple of years, they've really tried to hit a home run, so to speak, by trying to get Aaron Judge and Carlos Correa. They landed on Michael Conforto and Jorge Soler and Matt Chapman. Nothing against those players, but the Giants certainly have not been as good as they would like to be, and there's certainly some pressure on them to win this year too. You played in that ballpark. You understand what it's like to have to play there. I mean, you had success hitting there. Is there just something about for the city or the park why they can't land these mega free agents?
Well, I think that, they tried to help out by bringing the fences in. When I played there, the fences were a little bit bigger. You brought the fences in, changed the bullpens from being down the third base and first base lines to in the outfield. Those are things that kind of help, but the ballpark itself is an intricate ballpark. The wind, when I was there, would always blow in from right across the field. So lefties would have except for Barry, of course, would have a hard time trying to get that ball to carry for him in the right direction because the wind would always push it out towards the field. So you would get more guys that would hit those triples, and you trying to bring in a lefty power hitter is going to be tough there in that ballpark.
Yeah, and again, I mean, you were lefty, so you played there, and they just haven't had the best time having success there. Now, one player, history of the game, passed away last week at the age of 93, Tuck, and that, of course, is Willie Mays. They had a great event in Birmingham. celebrating his life. I know that you got a chance to get up close and personal with Willie many times. A lot of opening days there that you spent, with him being there, and I'm sure it was probably emotional to see him pass away last week. Any good memories that you have there that you could share with us?
Yeah, we that was a tough week last week. When I first found out about it, I had to take a couple of days to myself, just kind of, just get my head together, get my thoughts together. But I remember when I was playing there, I had grounded out to the shortstop probably 4 times. I came upstairs, I ripped off my batting gloves, and Willie was sitting in the office. And he sees me, and he calls me. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting new batting gloves. The batting gloves aren't working." He goes, "No, they're throwing you that pitch. You got to hit that ball to left center." I said, "Willie, I'm trying." He said, "Don't try, just do it." And that was the type of guy he was. He was direct about it. He wouldn't no bones about it. They're going to throw you that pitch. Just hit it to left center. Just hit it, let it go there. And I go up next to the bat. Didn't think about it. I hit it. Ball goes to left center. I get a double. And I'm just sitting there going, man, if it's that easy, wow, I should be doing this all the time.
Yeah, it's stories like that are what we're hearing around the league, and people forget that he did have an office at the park that he used to attend and talk to players like you. Great stuff, Puck. Thanks again for coming on. I hope to see you in person soon here in South Florida. Thanks again, and enjoy the time that you're spending with your family. Thanks again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Michael Tucker with us here on the show. All right, we'll take a quick timeout. Time for some last licks. This dog in sports. Again, we'll have it for you. Don't go away.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Rory Mack, it is going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we get ready to wrap up the show, we're going to cover a bunch of fun topics here, including Taylor Swift's latest concert, another musician involved in sports yet again, and in addition, the Boston Celtics, one of their players, needs your help. Those are just some of the topics we're covering here. It's time for some last licks. All right, well, the Olympic trials are coming up, and that's one sport that we'll have covered for you here on NewsWire. Again, it starts late in the month of July, so perfect timing with very little going on this summer. And wouldn't you know, Snoop Dogg in the house yet again. This guy just makes the rounds. It seems like every event Snoop Dogg is at, baseball, football, basketball, and the Olympics. In fact, Snoop Dogg took part, 52 years old, older than me, how about that, in a race. And in the 200 meters, he basically ran to do it in a celebrity form and was pretty awesome. 34.44 meters. Snoop Dogg actually participated in this, now just for fun. Now, again, we can't show you the video because of rights, but afterwards, Snoop said not too bad, for 52 years old, actually fared pretty well. And who knows? I mean, maybe Snoop Dogg has a future in being a broadcaster in the Olympics. I really think, by the way, that in the next few years, and I know that he's sponsoring one of the bowl events coming up later this year in Arizona, I think he's going to end up being in broadcasting in some way. I don't know. Something just tells me that he has some future in that. We'll see if he's doing that at the Olympics in Paris. Next up, Jaylen Brown. He needs your help. What does he need your help with? There is a reward for his ring that he lost in the Celtics parade. Now, again, this is not the championship ring that he's about to get. This is a ring for winning the conference championship that he previously got. Jaylen Brown lost this at the parade over the weekend. And there's a reward. I mean, I haven't seen how much this actually is for the reward, but he said that there's going to be a reward for it. Now, things could get out of hand at parades. And the other part of this is that imagine the fan who has this. It's like sort of catching that home run in the outfield. It's like, the right thing to do is to give it back, but you kind of want something for it. I don't know what's going to happen with this, and you got to be a little bit more careful, I think, if you're Jaylen Brown. Now, also, Jason Kelce, keep in mind, said that he lost a ring in a bowl of chili. So this is not the first time this has happened. It won't be the last time it's happened, but if you live in the Boston area and you're at that parade and you have his ring, maybe contact the Celtics, see if you can get something out of it. All right, speaking of Kelce, let's go from Jason Kelce to Travis Kelce. Hey, guess what? Taylor Swift had a concert over the weekend, and guess who showed up on stage? Just like Taylor Swift has shown up at Travis Kelce's games for Kansas City, he showed up at one of her concerts. That's right, Travis Kelce, look at that. On stage, looking pretty dapper for a Taylor Swift concert. Now, the only difference, I think, between this and the NFL is that I think more of the Swifties are tuning into NFL games to see Taylor Swift. I don't think that the NFL fans are necessarily tuning into Taylor Swift concerts just because Travis Kelce is showing up there. I don't think. I think it's like there's a line of demarcation there. So still going to be interesting this year to see her show up at his games. I think a lot of her fans will watch NFL games. I don't think a lot of NFL fans are like buying tickets to Taylor Swift concerts because he showed up there. That's just my opinion. All right, fun night we got here for you at SportsGrid. As soon as we're done here, we have the early line. But right after that, our previews of the big game tonight begins, and I'm sure Scott Farrell is going to have this coast to coast, 3 o'clock Eastern. So make sure you tune in. All of our different hosts and hockey analysts will weigh in on the historic night tonight, final game of the NHL season. Someone's getting the cup. That's at 3 o'clock Eastern, followed by game time decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's on from 6 to 9. From 9 to 10, we've got in-game live prime time. And then I am quite positive Gabe, whose unabashed love for the Edmonton Oilers is on display on social media. No offense, Gabe, but I'm hoping you are disappointed tonight with the Florida Panthers maybe taking home the cup tonight. I thought that they were going to win this already, so who am I to judge here? It was 3-0. I mean, you would think at some point, game 4, game 5, game 6, we'll see what happens tonight for game 7. All right, thanks to Michael Tucker for coming on, Mike Mazzeo from Legal Sports Report, and, of course, thanks to Cam and Joe for coming on, our associate producer Frank, our producer Michael. I'm Craig Mish. We'll be back with you tomorrow for our next edition of NewsWire right here on SportsGrid. We'll see who takes the cup tonight. Hope you have a great rest of your night. See you then.